I agree with the work smart, but to basically become smart, you have to fail a lot of times. The role is the less important thing. Just get knowledge, get experience, get really put yourself into so comfortable position that you don't have any other way to continue your career than just growing personally and professionally.
Sergi Baños is the CTO of wefox, a $3 billion tech company disrupting insurance. Now, I wanted to get Sergi on because his story is pretty remarkable. He joined 7 years ago, fresh out of university, as one of their first employees. Now, back then, he was a software engineer, but in just a few years, he is now the CTO and an absolutely integral part of their board. So, why and how has he achieved so much in such a short space of time? I wanted to get to the bottom of that in this chat. Now, of course, we go over the usual themes of work ethic and intensity, but a massive point of difference that I found with him was his mindset, his approach to life, his approach to challenges, and also his mindset around failure. To be honest, it was pretty unique, and this is something I'm really excited to share with you. So I hope you get some value from this. He's a super nice guy and a really inspiring character too. So without further ado, I'm Alex Bloisey, and this is the Building Our World podcast. So Sergey, I was super keen to get you on because, well, for one big reason is that you graduated in 2014, and fast forward a few years, you are the CTO of a $3 billion tech company, wefox. Not many people do that. So how on earth did this all come about?
Good. First of all, thank you very much, Alex, for having me in your podcast. It's a pleasure always to share personal career and to inspire somebody. Going direct to the point, I had the opportunity to join wefox really early on, actually as the first employee. And I joined as a just normal software developer in charge of back office. And at the end, I had a desire to change the industry, to change things, to do technology, and I basically spent a lot of time and effort on understanding the business and also understanding technology. And I think that this is one of the key aspects, and why I'm able to have the position that I have today has been thanks to understanding insurance in my case on wefox, but also understanding the technology and closing this big gap that normally exists between both worlds.
So with your background, like education wise, were you purely like, was it a computer science background? Were you kind of gearing yourself up to be a software engineer for like many years? How was, as you were growing up and finding your skill set, what were you thinking you were going to do when you were older?
Yeah, actually, I started to code really early on my career. When I was 12, 13, I always wanted to create machines, to create robots, and I always try to learn by myself on how to do it. As well, with a huge inspiration due to science fiction movies, always seeing these amazing things that can be done with technology. So I started really early on. Later, when I had the opportunity to focus my career on university, selecting a degree, I took telecommunication engineering. Engineering that, to be honest, I'm not using a lot in my daily basis, but I always say that I learned one thing that it's really important for my day-to-day job, that is problem solving. What I learned is that to be able and to have the hard and soft skills of saying, today I may not know the answer, but tomorrow I will be able to answer the problem, the question, and to find a solution.
Mm. But if you're, say, when you've left university and you're joining wefox as the first employee, as a graduate, most people would just want security, join like a bigger company. So what were your thoughts sort of going into this job? Did you, I'm guessing you bought into the founding team. Did you kind of know that it was going to be as big as it is today?
So The answer, or what I was thinking, was why not?
Mm.
This was my question in my head. It's like, if I want to do something like this, why not doing now? And why I have to wait until I'm 30 something, 40 something, established with established career, with a lot of responsibilities in family and in life together. Why not do it just after being graduate? You don't have that much responsibility, you can take risk and just jump to the unknown. And I always had the opportunity of really say, let's do it. So I got contacted by as well the founding members. They pulled me in, and they seen that at the end I had experience in technology, and they wanted to release first an MVP and see what happens.
Mm.
I always have been saying that wefox will be one of the biggest insurance company in the world and a really big insurance player, because we always are chasing something bigger than what we have today. And it's in one side it's difficult to cope with continuing running and really changing, growing. And in the other side, it's always you have the motivation that if you look back 1 year ago, you're completely different.
Mm.
You as a person, you as a company, as a technology, everything has changed so much, just because it's this constant pushing of becoming better and bigger.
Yeah. I mean, I follow a lot of you guys on LinkedIn, and the growth is, to be honest, it's been staggering. And the way you guys have captured the market in such a short space of time and really disrupted an industry, it's quite a rare thing to do. And I really want to dig into like how your role's changed, how it's grown, and maybe unlocking kind of the secrets behind this growth. But first of all, I wanted to take it back to like day one at wefox. So you're one of the first employees. You're building an MVP. How is your role looking, and how did you, as a graduate as well, how did you even approach this task that was in front of you?
To be honest, my role was software engineer, but I had to do everything that was needed to continue going and to make something successful. If I have to give an advice to somebody that wants or recently graduate that wants to take a journey similar and do something new, I will say, like, first of all, now is the moment, because you don't have responsibility. You can fail, and always, if you have a good profile, you can come back to
Mm.
really to enterprise, to more secure company. And the second thing that I will embrace is, don't be tied to a role. The role is the less important thing. Just get knowledge, get experience, get really put yourself into so comfortable position that you don't have any other way to continue your career than just growing personally
Mm.
and professionally. This will
Yeah.
be my advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Get outside the comfort zone. In those early days, then, what were the things that, obviously, the software engineering aside, what things did you really have to throw yourselves into that you didn't even expect that you would have to do?
The main question that always was like, can we do this? And this can be everything. Can be a new feature, software, something like this. And the answer always was yes. Do you know how to do it? The answer was no, but tomorrow I will be able to make it. This is basically like, um, out there in internet we have a lot of solutions, to don't say everything. So don't be tied of what you have learned in your career. Don't make that your answer is, I don't know how to do it. It's
Mm.
like, if you have an opportunity, if somebody is asking you and giving to you the card of, can you make it, just take it. Don't be afraid of failure, and if you fail, learn from the failure and continue going. And this basically is what was my in my early days. Is like, I was able to do everything
Mm.
because I was taking all the cards. Are you able to do an insurance back office? Yes. You don't know how to do it? Not 100%, but I will figure it out.
Yeah.
And I will be able to really continue growing and being able to acquire all the expertise.
Yeah. Just say yes and then work it out later.
Yeah, of course, being transparent. Like, don't be afraid to say, "I don't know how to do it today," but basically, I will speak with this person. This person, maybe I contact somebody with LinkedIn with that already did it, and I will get the information.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
What was it like in terms of like a lifestyle point of view? I mean, I know when you're like young, you've just graduated. I mean, I was the same when I first graduated and went into like the sort of recruiting agency world. I look back now and I think I don't know how I worked those hours. Like I don't even know like how that was even possible. If I did that now, and you burning the candle at both ends. So, what was it like from like a lifestyle point of view in terms of your sort of hours worked, the stresses? I know in an early stage you always need to be looking left and right for opportunities. So, how was that? How was that looking for you in the early days?
it's a good question. It's not something that I feel proud about it, to be honest, because I don't want to give this advice to anybody. The fact of you have to dedicate a lot of time and involve your personal life into it. This is what I did.
Mm,
Basically, it's a fact. I don't know if it's possible to accomplish what we have accomplished or what I have accomplished without dedicating that many time because I haven't tried it. In my case, I had really long days. When I say long, I can say 16, 18 hours. Some journeys of days of for releasing, for pre demos to investors and things like this of 24, 48 hours full
jeez.
going. Um, and um, and yeah, and I dedicated a lot of times. I was not able to even count it. I didn't want it actually. To be and but to be honest, one thing that it's true is that I was enjoying what I was doing. So because I was learning, so for me it was like, look, every single hour that I am investing here on making this is making me advance everybody 2 or 3 years.
Mm,
So if I can dedicate 1 hour more every single day, at the end of the entire year, is basically counting double, you know,
mm,
or triple. And if I was comparing to myself with people that was making their work time, the 9 to 5 job, just making the things that basically the boss was saying and associating in some consultancy or something like this. And at the end of the day, you compared where are you in terms of knowledge, capabilities, experience, and these persons, and you are years beyond.
mm.
And it's the moment to make it because later on in your career you will not have this time. You will have to
Mm,
have a proper work-life balance. I cannot make it now. I cannot
mm.
go 24 hours full on because and actually I will be mentally dead. It's not my
Yeah,
role now as well to make it,
yeah,
but back then was like how I can acquire as much knowledge, as much experience in the short time possible and pushing my company.
yeah. I do think when you first start out in any profession, it's you don't know the best way to do things. You don't know the you don't know. They always say work smart, but you don't know what the smartest thing is to do. And I think the only substitute for that is to just get through the work, get through the trial and error, increase your fail rate, and then over time you can obviously refine things, be more efficient, and then I think that's when you can evolve a bit more of a work life balance.
Yeah, so I completely agree. At the end, look, I agree with the work smart, but to basically become smart, you have to fail a lot of times,
Exactly. Yeah.
and you have to be able to fail. And to fail, you need time,
Mm,
and be able to fail as well. It's really mentally consuming. You have
mm,
to really just throw to the trash hours.
yeah.
You have to invest a lot of time on really reading things that maybe could be even boring, but you
Yeah.
need this information.
Yeah.
And the only way to acquire this skill of becoming smarter on your work is just by basically dedicating time, energy, and effort.
Mm. So where did this mindset come from? I suppose people call it the growth mindset, where you throw yourselves into things. You're open to failure. You're open to learning, and you're open to admitting that you don't know everything. Um, a lot of people don't like to fail, and it obviously sets people apart, and people almost have a fixed mindset. So is this a mindset that you developed sort of in your career, or growing up did you have these values sort of instilled into you? Where did this sort of mindset develop?
So I will say that it's part of my education in my family, of just embracing failure. If you're not able to do it today, fine, no problem. Just continue learning, try a different thing, and you will be able to make it. And at the end, there is always a solution. This has been something that I was lucky because my fathers continuously explained to me, put their effort and energy on this education and this kind of cultivative mindset, and
Mm,
as well in my education. So I failed as well early on, in order then basically I was able to afterwards dedicate, or be used to it. So failure is part of my day to day. You know,
mm,
when you accept this, people that always have been successful since early on in their career, taking really huge grades in all the degrees, in all the exams and everything, or when they have to make front to failure in the professional life, is when they struggle and they don't know what to do it, and they basically go to a deep hole. But if you have been there, you know that basically the only thing that you have to do is look up and basically continue going
mm,
and accept it. For sure, it's hard. For sure, it's really nobody wants to fail, but it's just something that you have to cultivate all the time.
mm. I think that is quite a rare thing, I think, for parents maybe to cultivate, and for and maybe an education system to do. I don't know if it's maybe different, but I went to school and was educated in England, and people were scared of failing. Like where I grew up, if you got like bad marks in an exam, it was like the end of the world. It wasn't that, you know, this exam was bad. It was, you are bad. You know, people let failures and grades completely define them, define their whole personality, and also define their future choices, which I think is so dangerous. And at my school as well, like you were really forced to go to university, and everyone had to go to university, and university is not for everyone as well. And then people that didn't make it into a university, or what's considered a good university, just completely thought they were failures, and it affects them for so long. And it's something that's really got to change. I don't know what it's like. Was it Spain you were educated in then?
Yeah, it was. But let me say that the education system is really similar. So if you
Okay.
fail on your grades, it's exactly the same thing. And I let me I have to share one thing. So when I started at wefox, I was not speaking English. So I
Really?
was basically already 6 7 years ago. I was not speaking English. Actually, was my letters in general and languages was my failure in in the in my educational career. And what I had to do is basically continue just learning, surviving. I was really good at mathematics, technology, programming, logical thinking, and all these um, um, soft skills sometimes. I was really bad at languages and semantic and all this. And but I knew that basically at some point I had to just learn. And wefox, actually, I remember that early on in wefox, I started half of my conversations with the people saying, "Apologies, my English is not good. Correct me if I'm wrong." You know, and I was creating a safety space together with the other people that I got corrected hundreds of times, but it was good because everybody is so willing to support you to really get your information, because at the end I had the technology information and I was able to translate it for them, and they were basically teaching me. And
Mm,
this, don't be afraid to just show vulnerable, to just say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I know. Support me, help me, create a safe space that everybody is so willing to support.
mm. That's actually, it seems like such a small thing, but that is really hard to do because, especially when speaking, I mean, I'm terrified of speaking other languages. Most English people are, to be fair, because it's just not, it's not really taught in schools, foreign languages, but that's a whole other topic. So did you have like tutorings for English, or were you just learning on the job?
Well, both. I had everything that was possible. So I remember my first business trip to Zurich, and Julian Teke, CEO of
Mm.
wefox, invited me to a workshop, and I had to represent technology. We were just 5 persons in technology, so we didn't have that many people to choose. So I flew in, and I could say a few words. Hello, my name is Sergi. I work in technology, and I like XYZ. Okay, few more. I could not maintain a proper business conversation and interactions, change my tone of voice and things like this. I could not make it. And I remember coming back on the flight and thinking, I have to learn English because I want to change this industry. I really want to share my ideas. I have so many innovative things that I want to share, and I have to basically be willing to express myself in English. And
Mm.
this was my just motivation. And this is basically how I have works in several things. I'm really super motivated with a clear outcome, with something that I want to accomplish, and the rest I will learn it on the way. And
Mm.
English was one of these ones. After
Mm.
1 year, I was able to speak properly with a business meeting, and since then, always try to make history telling, and being able to adapt the pronunciation. That is the most difficult thing for a Spanish person to adapt. But you realize that if you want to communicate with the other, you can make it at the end of the
Mm.
day.
Wow. God, to graduate and then be a first person in an international tech company and to not speak English as well, it's just remarkable. And then to learn on the job because, yeah, I mean, obviously you have to present business ideas and turn these business ideas obviously into code as well. Where has this work ethic come from as well? Like everyone in life has a standard of what they want to achieve. Um, they want to look back on their life and basically kind of be happy with what they've done. And what that level is varies from person to person. Everyone has their own standards. So, have you always been like this?
So I always remember one sentence that somebody, a mentor, I will say, not for technology, not for business, a mentor on more life, and share with me that was like, if you don't trust on yourself, who's gonna trust on you? You know, and this resonates so much with me that it's like it's true. So at the end of the day, if the first step is just believe in yourself, believe that you can make the things, that you can really do everything that you want to do, and later you will be able to influence it the others. But you cannot influence it the others if you basically don't believe in yourself. It's basically one of the sentences that everybody advises as well. Like, if you want to impact the others, you have to be on you. And this I think that this advice was when I was 11, 12, something like this. So I was always like, okay, can you do it? Yes, I can. So, and if I cannot make it, I will tell you that I have not been able to make it, or I need your help. It's not a problem. And if I suppose that basically this has been so early on in my development that it
Mm.
feels natural. You know, don't be ashamed to request help. Don't be afraid to share emotions, because the no, it's already there. The fear, it's already there, and just basically there is one step between accomplishing it and not doing it. That is
Mm.
basically action. If you don't move, you will not be even try to, or you will not be
Yeah.
able to even get it.
That's great though, from such an early age to detach yourself from your successes and your failures, because both, if you attach yourself, both are equally as toxic if you do, and to be that open to failure at such a young age is is pretty rare, to be honest.
And
Um,
let me say one thing, because I believe that this can be developed. I don't think, and
mm,
I also don't want that anybody that is hearing this podcast think that, oh gosh, I did, my fathers didn't teach me, or I didn't learn this thing, I will not basically embrace my failure. No, I think that basically this can do at any age. And actually, people tend to secure themselves, their life, and later embrace failure. And you see it when the people has been successful in their career in development, and were basically being in an enterprise, taking a management position. They basically kind of become bored a little bit, and
mm,
they jump into this unknown, but they jump because they know that they have the safety net, you know
yeah.
but at the end, you can basically develop this skill at any point of time. The only thing that I will say is, always you should have a plan. I will not say a plan B, but you should basically be able to know the consequences of your actions. But whenever you analyze the consequences and you realize that maybe 90% of them will not be that big, the consequences, then you just have to get into action.
Mm. Yeah, I think a lot of people will envisage the worst case scenario in their head, and I mean, I do it all the time. The worst things that ever happened to me are all just in my head. It never it never turns out as bad as you were going to think.
It's curious because I always think the opposite. So I think, will be not that amazing that this is the outcome. I like it. Let's do it. And later you have to think, okay, this may happen, this other thing may happen, and this is the worst use case. But let's see. You put it in a balance and makes sense to take the risk.
Mm.
And I try to visualize. I try to basically almost, I will say, smell the success, how looks the output, in order than basically you create the desire in yourself to accomplishing it, that the rest, it's just peanuts.
Mm. But it's obviously easier said than done, and I know everyone, we're all human, has massive knockbacks. Maybe in your career or life, what do you think has been your biggest failure or your biggest sort of kick in the stomach that you really had to pull yourself together to overcome?
Yeah. So I had to repeat one entire year on high school. So basically, languages was not my thing. So teachers said, okay, you know, you have to repeat an entire year and learn it. And it didn't matter that I had tens at math or in other things. I had to basically repeat 1 year. All of a sudden, basically, all my friends, all my colleagues, they were 1 year ahead. They were successful.
Mm,
They basically were like, from the educational point of view and system, they were successful, and I was a failure.
mm,
So basically, at that point in time, I had two options. Or either I basically accept that I'm a failure, and I just basically I cry. I don't do the things. I don't involve myself, or just accept that basically in lifetime of 70 years, 1 year is nothing. I learn from it. I use my time. Of course, I basically understood why languages were important, but as well, I knew that I will not allow that this kind of failure influencing my career. And this failure made me at the end of the day that basically, if I have to invest 1 year in something compared to 70 years of lifetime, it's nothing.
mm. Hard to do though when you're that age because you think that life is life is short and everything around you is like your entire world.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you think like how many when it's always easy to say it when you look back, you know.
Mm,
But if you think on a professional career, like could be now, how many people lose 1 year just trying to see if the thing that they have assumed that they have been trained on and that they basically have expect to be their life goal um, is not what they were expecting, and all of a sudden they basically become purposeless. They don't have any goal in life because, oh, I was thinking that, I don't know, um, physiotherapy it was my thing, but I don't like it, and now what I do,
Mm.
So this dedicating time to fail is something that always happen in everybody. I think that everybody that will be listening us has lost one or multiple years in things, in assuming certain things. Then now they look back and they say, okay, is what it is. And
Mm.
this is the learning, like do whatever it matters to you today, and basically just try to validate your hypothesis. And your hypothesis maybe like my my life it's all around physiotherapy, mm, talent acquisition, technology. But later, if it's not, look for learn from what didn't like to you, and learn from it, and make another hypothesis. What can
Mm.
be basically the next thing where you are good at.
Absolutely. I wanted to bring it back now to more of the present day. Um, so, for people who don't know who are listening, it's wefox is a multi-billion-dollar company, unicorn status, and a massively disrupting the insurance space. You're the CTO. So, how many engineers are you actually in charge of, and how much, I suppose, code are you in charge of as well? And how big are these platforms that essentially you're responsible for?
Yeah. So currently we are in the team 130 engineers, um, and growing. We are hiring. We are responsible. The entire platform has around 105 and 10 microservices. All of some of them can be bigger, smaller, but overall different 100 services to into the platform. We provide solutions for insurance to our end customers and to basically consumers that want to get an insurance policy. And as well to any distribution. Could be a distribution like a broker, advisor, or affinity business, like could be any shop retail that want to add the service of insurance into their offering.
Okay. So your job then as CTO, I mean, is it like the classic? Because there's a lot that you're in charge of, and I know the technology and the way you're disrupting the industry is obviously integral to that. But are you like waking up in the morning and just making sure there wasn't a disaster on the platform overnight, no outages, things like that? Are you one of those CTOs? Because I know you hear these stories. I think the Monzo founder said that he didn't sleep with his mobile phone in the room, but in case there's a disaster happened overnight, he'd have like a red phone that someone would ring if there was like an outage and stuff. So how does that look like in terms of the disaster side of things?
So in general, the role of a CTO change constantly, and as much as the company grow and the profile of the team grows, and you are looking for talent at the end of the day that can do the majority of the things. Of course, you always have to be able to be pulled in certain situations, like could be an incident or something like this, and have the ability to jump into the detail. A lot of people struggle because they try to stay too much in the surface. People need direction in the bottom part, and all of a sudden they lose you as a leader. So you have to be able to go up and down constantly. Um, I think that basically the other day I was speaking with CTO of Amazon, and he said that not even myself, nobody knows what the role of a CTO means and what does is mean, because at the end everybody have a different profile of the company and different problems, a different industry, and totally different scenarios. In my case, insurance is not something highly transactional. So
Mm.
yes, we have certain services that receive millions of requests per second, and that kind of have to be up all the time and monitor. But later, it's more like really make sure that the systems are reliable and always are working, rather than in a highly transactional, like could be an e-commerce, could be a marketing
Mm.
site, an advertisement agency, or something like this. So in this case, we basically always focus on a technology culture that it's optimized on speed, because we have to grow, we have to deliver no matter what, deliver, and make sure that the delivery cycle is as efficient as possible, automate as much things, and this can go from personal development to process to the platform, delivery platform. And the second part is focus on communication and people, just invest on the people. It's how you can attract the best talent in order that they tell me what we have to do, is what I'm looking all the time. How I can get people that really support our journey, embrace our vision, and can really push innovation.
How hard is it to delegate that? Because I know you've obviously kind of probably built it since day one, and maybe it's easier for you now. But when stuff does go wrong, or there's new features or anything like that, there has to be that trust, doesn't there? That the people beneath you have the same vision as you, and are doing it correctly. Because I'm guessing, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, and I said I wouldn't talk too much about technology because otherwise it would just be a disaster. But how do you know, like, the code that's being written and the platforms that are being built are up to your standards?
To be honest, I don't know, because and if you try to control uncontrol things that cannot be controlled, you turn yourself crazy and you stop focusing on things that matter, that at the end it's people. What I know is basically what I try to put in the head of the people, give them responsibility, accountability, authority, and creating the desire that you were explaining to them, because I may not be able to do it, but I know that a person, an engineering manager, engineering lead, that it's the day-to-day with the teams and working closely with the technology area that it's happening, they're going to be able to do it. So what I really focus is on creating this desire of trying to become the best, deliver as much as possible. And it's easy, because at the end of the day, if you go to an engineer, you say, do you want to write a code that doesn't have bugs, that doesn't have problems, right? So then take yourself the time to really invest on automating, on quality assurance, on everything that can be improved into the process. And this is basically, it's hard to create, because as much you grow, you have to cultivate this thing. And let me say as well that this kind of culture is not just basically done by the CTO or the management. It's a culture that is done by the engineering team as an entire. So they have to push, and they have to deliver, and they have to become better every single day.
And are you, like, I'm guessing, are you like the in-between person of the business needs and then filtering that down so you can turn that basically into code? As a CTO now, I mean, how involved are you in, like, the business decisions? Because I read a few things recently. I speak to a few people, and over the last, like, 10, 20 years, CTO of a role has become way more important with, like, digital transformation. And, like, you have, like, famous CTOs now. It's not just famous CEOs and founders and entrepreneurs. You have famous CTOs, and they're almost a part of, like, the mainstream conversation. So how much are you involved, would you say, in the business side of things now?
Well, really involved. So technology is one of the areas that it's together with product development. It's basically on the management decisions to make sure that the strategy that we define, it's basically supported by technology, and accomplishing the business goals. I can tell you that if we don't have the capabilities, or if we don't have technology, we will not be able to reach the vision that wefox has. It's impossible. So this is why basically the definition of what we want to do in the strategy always have the support of technology in this case. And later the how, it's more like breakdown by the teams, because let's say we know that we want to reduce the admin cost in order to automate more, become more digital in the industry. And the way to make it, the teams are going to have to basically find how increase this percentage and how to be able to deliver this optimization.
Awesome. So we will finish up soon. I know you are busy and pressed for time. One thing I wanted to cover before the end is wefox has grown hugely in such a short space of time. You've been there since the beginning. Other companies, probably in the same space or different spaces, probably set up at a similar time and haven't done so well. What do you think? What could you put your finger on that could tell us why wefox has had the journey and the success it has had so far?
Well, I will say that we tried a lot of things. We failed so many times in so many things, and that basically we learn from these failures. We don't stuck in some failure. I think that this is a common problem of some startups, that they get stuck into hypotheses and all of a sudden they run out of money. We changed ourselves and we invested on our people. So we invested a lot on personal growth, on personal development. We showed that top down that personal development is the most important thing, because we are changing in daily basis the management to really chase continuously this way of improving. And at the end, I always remember a sentence that we said with when Fabian Weisman, CFO and one of the founders, that basically no matter what happens, there is always a solution if we work together. And I think that this is basically the key of success of wefox.
Because it's been a fairly similar founding sort of C-level team since the start, hasn't it?
Well, as a founding, yes, but always we had rotation, we had changes, we had people coming in, bringing new points of views that make the company more evolving, embracing new changes. And if you basically put both things together, new people getting in with new points of view, and the company don't be afraid to change, you basically have some key for success.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, never underestimate the power of getting a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective coming into the business. Because I suppose if you are all the same for so many years, you think in a very similar way. It's the kind of the wefox way, and you get sort of ingrained in that. Before we finish up, though, lastly, coming back to yourself, as I mentioned at the start, in just 6, 7 years, you've obviously been CTO now of a massive tech company, and I'm pretty sure it's only going to keep growing. So your personal ambitions, do you think about them much in terms of the years to come, and what do you think they will be, or what do you want them to be?
So personally, I always try to balance work life, and basically I always categorize between wealth, and that will be more the professional, health, that will be the second one, and relationships are the triangle that I try to balance. And I would really try to focus year over year in the three of them. If you focus too much in one of them, normally the other two suffer a lot. I invested a lot on the professional side, on the wealth, really early on in my career, and basically I try to balance the both and the other two. And now in my personal life as a goal. In terms of goal professionally, I just want to basically see wefox really successful, that we can reach as much customers as possible, and that we can really make our vision of making insurance 10 times better for everyone.
Yeah, it seems that you're really kind of bought into the mission, and I suppose you kind of have to be to have done what you've done. But from very early on, it seems like you really believed in the mission and the product and what the company was trying to do.
Yeah, I think that basically is the most important thing for an employee. So you, at the end, even more in technology, in the world that we live, full of opportunities, full of LinkedIn offers constantly, and with the opportunity of decide where you want to work, the meaning and the purpose of a company, it's more important than even other things like could be salary.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, when I speak to, I only really recruit software engineers. I don't do sort of CTO stuff. And every company is like the same in terms now of salary, tech stack, flexibility, benefits, and the mission and what you're doing on the day to day and the impact you're having on the world is massively like important. And it is the point of difference that people in tech now look to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I completely agree with that. Okay, Sergi. Well, I know you'll probably have a million things to do, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. I know from following you from a while that your story and your journey would be pretty incredible, and definitely wasn't disappointed. Your mindset and how you've approached things from an early age is pretty special. And I know that anyone listening would have taken so much value from that. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Alex, for having me here. It's a pleasure. And yeah, I'm always happy to share my insights to the rest of the people.
Superb. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Building Our World podcast. Every view, stream, and download is massively appreciated. If you're new here, then please go back through the catalogue. There's some great gems from some of the brightest and the best in Berlin tech. And if you really like what you hear, then please do hit that follow and subscribe button. That's it for now. But until next time, goodbye.